Give somebody a high five around you. Just tell somebody around you, say, hey, I'm motivated. I am motivated. Come on now. I am motivated. Tonight we're gonna talk about this thing called motivation. And for some of us in this world, we need a little motivation. And I'm probably gonna extend this and do this next week as well, because sometimes in this room, there's people that how many know your kids need motivating to get up in the morning? Hello, come on now. Some of them need a whole lot of motivation. I remember as a kid, I wanted to just lay there until the sun came up, until it was really hot and bright, and keep everything. I remember going to college. I had little motivation in the afternoon, because when you don't have any class and the cafeteria is closed, there's not a whole lot to do in the afternoon. So we put like black cloth and black paper. We like made our room into like this cave. Hello? It's called sleeping. It was a motivating thing that, I was like, I need rest. Why? Because I'd stay up all night. I was in what? I was in college. You're like, Pastor, you did that in college? I'm talking about Southeastern University. And my roommate in college, Wayne, was Joe Gordon. So you get a little understanding of who that was. Motivation. My question for you tonight is, what motivates you? That word motivation is the reason or reasons why one is acting or behaving in a particular way. There's certain motivations that people have. Some people are motivated to lose weight. Some people are motivated to stack cash and retire one day. Some people are motivated to get a tan. You can see them on a beach. They're just laying there trying to get brown as possible. You know what I'm saying? Some of us are like, I don't want skin cancer. I am not motivated to do that. Some people are motivated to work. Some people are motivated to clean. I've seen people that are motivated, they wash their car every other day. It's like, oh my goodness, that thing is clean, clean, clean. I remember when I was 14 years old, I had probably my greatest motivation as a young person when I was 14 years old. I looked at my parents and I said, I want a car. And they said, you better get a job, son. And I remember being 14 years old, I was like, where am I gonna get a job? Who's gonna hire me? I'm 14 years old, but I want a car. When I turned 16, I need to have money in the bank or I'm not gonna have a car. I was like, what am I gonna do? I went to Publix and I took this is terrible, I took my birth certificate, because you had to take it back then, and show them how old you were, and I changed the date just 1 year, you know what I'm saying? I changed it just a little bit. I mean, I was in what they call junior high. I was 14, you were supposed to be 15 when they hired you. 6 months early, I was like, yes, they're like, you 15? I said, absolutely, all day long, you know what I'm saying? And every kid in school's like, you work at Publix? I don't know where you work at, I don't know what. I said, hey, I'm getting a car. I would get every hour you could possibly get. I worked at a place, this manager, when you walked in, I had no motivation to work. The only motivation I had was I wanted that green stuff because I wanted to drive. And I rode a bicycle every afternoon. We lived up on the beach and had to drive down A1A and ride about 2 miles to Publix and go to work. It was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Every afternoon, go there from 4 to 10 o'clock at night. We'd mop every aisle. I hated mopping. I learned how to mop there. I learned how to strip and wax floors and stack paper and run a crusher and all these wonderful things. And then I had this manager that'd stand there and he'd walk in and he'd look at your shoes. He'd like look at your shoes because he wanted to make sure you had shine shoes. I'm like, are you kidding me? We had a trick. We had a can of Vaseline, in this one. Before he'd walk in, because you knew he walked in 2 minutes before you'd clock in, because you weren't allowed to clock in until it was time. If you clocked in 2 minutes early, they had to pay you, and they're like, I ain't paying you if you clock in early. We're like, okay. And you'd walk in, and he would never smile. He'd look at your feet. I'm like, are you kidding me? They had no rule as far as what color pants you would wear. So I lived on the beach. I'd wear the brightest, craziest colored pants. He'd look at my pants and go, there's something wrong with you, especially when I'd wear purple ones. He's like, oh, this is the 80s, all right, so whatever. But we would put Vaseline on. It would rub off after a while just to trick out the manager that was there. What am I saying? I was motivated to keep the job because I wanted the cash, because I knew that there was a reward at the end. Problem is, a lot of us are motivated or demotivated by the things around us. I love this story of Jesus in John chapter 14. Tonight we're going to stay right there in John chapter 14 and maybe jump around a couple other places. But John chapter 14, Jesus basically tells the disciples a couple things. First thing he tells them is, he says, hey, one of you guys is a traitor. all right? He just drops the bomb. One of you guys is a traitor. Every one of you is going to deny me. And guess what? I'm leaving you tonight. And where I'm going, you can't come. So the disciples were legitimately disturbed by what Jesus was saying. He's like, one of y'all is not right. You're going to betray me. The rest of you are going to deny me and you're going to leave me. And then I'm going to leave as well. And this thing is not going to go well. And then Jesus tells him this in John chapter 14, verse 1. He says this, do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I'm going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. Verse 4, you know the way to the place where I'm going. And Thomas, of all people, said to him, Lord, we don't know where you're going, so how can we know the way? Jesus said this, he answers. This is what we need to hear when it comes to motivation. Jesus said, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So if you're taking notes tonight, the bottom line, the simplicity of this message tonight is this, is when it comes to living, Jesus is enough motivation. Jesus living in you is enough motivation to live the best possible life you can ever live. It's not about what you possess, it's about who lives inside of you. It's not about what you amass, it's about you taking what you have and allowing Him to use it. It's about you taking your life and saying, this is my life, I'm gonna allow you to use my life. Why? Because He chose to live in us. What did He say? He said, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. He didn't say, I'm gonna show you a way. He said, I am the way. He didn't say, I'm gonna teach you about a truth. He said, I am the truth. He didn't say, I'm gonna show you what life is. He said, I am life. That word life, I love that word life, because that word life in the Hebrew or in the Greek is the word zoe. It means real life, genuine, a life that's active and vigorous, devoted to God. It's a blessed life in this world and in the world after. So the thing we've got to realize that in the world that we live in, there's moments in your life where you will feel less motivated. There's moments in your life where you will feel what I consider demotivated, where you'll be like, I really don't want to move. I really don't want to get going. I really don't want to move forward. I really don't have a whole lot to not live for, but I don't have a really lot to get me moving in the right direction. What do I do when I'm not motivated to live for Jesus? Because I want to tell you, the world out there is not living for Jesus. And if they're not living for Jesus, and we follow the pattern that they live by, and we measure our life based on the way that they live, then we might think that we're much better than them. We're not better than them. We just have Jesus in our lives. And when He's in our lives and we recognize the fact that the creator of the universe chose to die to live inside of us, then we can do what? We can be motivated to live this life. How many need to be motivated at times? Come on, clap time, you need to be motivated. Very simple message tonight. The greatest motivation, I honestly believe, is this. When it comes to motivation, is this wonderful world called love. How many remember the first time you fell in love? Anybody? Come on, think about it. First time you fell in love. When I fell in love with my wife, we were 20-year-olds. I was 21, and she was 19. There you go. That's a long time ago. But I remember when I asked her to marry me after I asked her dad if I could marry her, and he was like, how are you going to take care of my daughter? And I go, I don't know. I mean, that's the truth. I'm going to quit school, I'm going to get a job, and I'm going to take care of your daughter. He says, no, you're not. He says, you're going to go to school, and you're going to graduate, and you're going to do this thing. And I remember we were both going to Southeastern University. We both felt like God wanted to do something great in our lives. And then right the day before we left, she decided, okay, this really isn't God's plan for me to go here. It may be God's plan for you to go. So we departed ways. I'm telling you, it was like a 2-hour drive between Lakeland and Daytona Beach. We grew up in the Daytona Beach area. And I remember on Friday afternoon, I'd get out of class at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If anybody knows anything about Orlando traffic, it is a nightmare to leave and hit at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I always prayed that the professor would let us out early because I would load up my laundry, my dirty laundry, you know what I'm saying? And I would take my dirty laundry to my fiance's house because her parents we were there, and then I would do my laundry, and her mom would always cook me the meal that I asked for. She wouldn't cook anybody else's meal. She's like, "What would you like, son?" She was like buttering me up or something, hoping that I keep motivating and different things. Her dad would always say, "Oh, he's gonna meet some other girl down there. You have lost him, he's gone." About on Tuesday, every time I would leave on Tuesday, I'd get a box in the mail. A box. These are these days, you didn't get an email, there was no cell phone, there was no phones in the dorms, there was a pay phone down the hall, and if somebody called, you'd call that phone, and somebody would yell down the hall, "Hey, somebody's on the phone," and you'd wait, and you'd walk over there, and you'd pick up that phone, and you'd sit there, and somebody'd be like, "Hey, man, you gonna get off that phone? I need to call somebody," because some people would sit on the phone. But about Tuesday, I'd get this box in the mail, and it always had fresh-baked cookies, and it had a really long note. I have a stack of notes. One day I'll read those when we do a marriage thing, because I kept every note that she wrote me. Isn't that good? Come on, isn't that? What am I saying? Love will motivate you to do things you never dreamed of doing. Love will wake you up in the middle of the night when your kids are sick, and you will get in the car, and you will go to a CVS, and you will go to some overnight store. You'll go to a Walmart in the middle of the night. I'm telling you, if it's open 24 hours and you need medicine, you don't care how many crazy people are there. You are going. Why? Because of L-O-V-E. Hello? L-O-V-E was me saying at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I don't care how bad the traffic is, I am jumping in the car and I'm driving as fast as I can because I wanted to be there. It wasn't an excuse. It was like I was going to be there. I was motivated by this thing called love. Motivated, that word means to provide someone with a motive for doing something. It means to stimulate someone's interest or enthusiasm for doing something. What do you think the missionary, I asked him, I said, what's your greatest motivating factor? It's kind of a setup, you know what I'm saying? What's your greatest motivating factor to stay in Thailand? I didn't know what his answer would be. 96% of them don't know Jesus. Think about that. I pray that his heart motivated you to not sit back on the fence, but motivated you to do something greater for Christ, motivated you to reach out to the people that maybe work with you, maybe live down the street from you, maybe around you that don't know Jesus. Here's the easiest thing to do. Go out in the lobby. There's these cards that are there that say Sizzlin' Summer on them. Take it. Go to them and say, "Hey, why don't you come to my church?" Just say, "Hey, it's loud. Pastor wears jeans. You're going to have a great time. I promise you, they got free coffee and donuts in the lobby. Come to church with me." It's the easiest way to invite somebody to come to Jesus. How many's ever done that before? Come on now. How many's literally failed at that before? Literally failed at it. How many's ever, you invited somebody and they said, no? Do you give up? Or do you just go, "No, I'm going to ask you tomorrow, and then I'm going to ask you tomorrow, and then I'm going to ask you the day after that. I'm going to keep asking you until you really say yes, until you get bothered by the fact that I ask you to what? Come sit with me in this place called church." You know what their greatest fear is that when they walk in, somebody's going to be staring at them because they don't fit in. Guess what? None of us fit in. Do we? We really don't. Why? Because all of us need Jesus. All of us have a desire and a need in our life for something greater than ourselves, and the answer is J-E-S-U-S. The problem is they don't know what the solution is. And we are what? We are the ones that hold the solution. And if we are what I consider demotivated means to be less eager to work or to study. It's like your kids, they're like, "I got a test tomorrow. Are you going to study?" I don't need to study. I got it. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to study. They're like, "Nobody else studies. Why would I want to study? Hello? Why would I want to do that?" These are my sons. I don't know about your kids, but these are like, "Are you going to study?" "No, man, I got it." And then they don't have it. And you're like, "What happened?" "I don't know." I'm like, "You didn't study. You got to do something." You're like, Like, all right, I'll get it next time. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't that drive you crazy? Who's with me on that one? Doesn't that really irritate you a little bit? Okay, here we go. I'm just venting, but it's okay. But maybe that's because school has started again. How many is enjoying the school year so far with your kids? Hello? 4 of you. Okay, there we go. Let's go on. We'll have counseling later. But when it comes to being demotivated, when it comes to being less than eager, when it comes to being less than motivated, I think there's a couple of things we can do, and there's just 2 things I'm going to look at in this story. One thing is, I think you need to change what you're looking at. Change what you're looking at. The reason why a lot of times that we're not motivated is because we're demotivated by the negativity in our lives. We see so much negative, we hear so much negative, we've run into so much negativity that we feel defeated before we even try. We feel like we can't make it before we even take the step. Can I help you out tonight? You can make it. You can overcome. You can be victorious. You can win at this thing. How many's with me? Come on, clap one time if you're with me. I tell people that sometimes when they're in a real tough situation. This is their greatest answer to me sometimes. Oh, I hope so. And I'm like, what did you say? And they're like, I hope so. I said, you don't have to hope at nothing. Jesus said he'd never leave you. So you are gonna make it. You gotta tell yourself sometimes, yes, I am gonna make it. If you sit there and go, I don't know, maybe, I hope it happens. Well, maybe, well, then you'll settle for whatever comes your way rather than step out in faith and realize I'm gonna be motivated by the King of Kings. I'm gonna be motivated by heaven itself. I'm gonna be motivated by a God who loves me. What did God say? God's motivating factor for you is love. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave. Giving is motivational. God's love is what encouraged him to give. What? So that we could have this thing called life. How many are thankful for the love of God? Clap one time if you're thankful for the love of God. So we look at when we're demotivated or when we feel like less motivated than doing things. A lot of times when I say it's, change the things you're looking at, look at the life of Paul. In 2 Corinthians chapter 4, look at the screen real quick. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, Paul describes his faith, and he describes a couple things he's going through, and then he gives us a hint at what we should do. He says this, he says, but we have this treasure, talking about the life of Christ, in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us. He's saying that my salvation is not based in what I can do, but my salvation is living inside of me, and his name is Jesus. So this treasure that I have is living inside of me. But he says this, he said, we are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not despair. Persecuted, but not abandoned. Struck down, but not destroyed. Think of this. This is the guy that when people didn't like what he was saying, they picked up stones in Acts chapter 17, and they stoned him and killed him and left him outside the city. The Bible says the disciples came around, gathered around him, prayed over him. He got up, walked back into the city, and then he decided, which place do I need to go next? Okay? He's the guy that's saying, I have this treasure that lives inside of me. I'm perplexed, but not crushed. I'm beat down, I'm struck down, but I'm not in despair. In verse 10, he describes it this way. He says, we always carry around in our body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may be revealed in our body. And if you jump down to verse 16, he says, therefore, we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. See, the key to being motivated is what you do day by day. The key to Paul seeing not what he's going through, but where he's going is what he does day by day. If we want to build motivation in our life, we got to stop looking and focusing on what's wrong. Stop focusing on the mess. Stop focusing on the things you can't fix. Stop focusing on the things that are out of your control, because the things that are out of your control, if all you do is focus on them, the only thing you're going to do is live in anxiety and live in fear and live in wonder and live in doubt. But if we say, I'm not focusing on those, I'm going to focus on the solution. I'm going to fix my eyes on Jesus. What does he say? He said, so we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but what is unseen. And what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. He's saying that this flesh and blood that we have is temporary. But one day, frame it this way. Jesus died so he could live in us, so that we could be motivated by the life that's living inside of us. And that life that's living inside of us encourages with this one truth. One day I'm going to see him. One day I'm going to stand before him. One day I'm going to see him face to face. So you know what that tells me? I can get up tomorrow. I can get up the next day. I can pray tomorrow. I can pray tonight. I can read his word tonight. I can read his word in the morning. And what I do day by day that renews what? Renews the way I see things, the way I frame things, the way I think about things. Those things matter and make a difference in how motivated I am, because some people have to just motivate themselves to get up in the morning because there's so much bad and negativity that's coming around them. And if all they realized is that Jesus, the Son of the living God, the same power that rose him from the dead, lives in us. Jesus is enough motivation. How many believe that tonight? He's enough. So the second thing I think that we need to focus on, and this is the last thing, this is a simple thing, is this. If you feel demotivated, then listen to the right voice. Let me help you out. There will always be voices around you that have opinions about what you need to do and how you need to do things. And sometimes those voices, let me help you out, sometimes those voices are great people. Sometimes those people are real wise people. Sometimes those people act like they're very spiritual people. Hello? But the difference is we need to silence the voices that don't encourage us to be motivated to move towards Christ, and listen to the voice that's inside of us, because his spirit that's inside of us is saying, he's got a plan, he's got a plan, he's gonna work out his plan. Don't worry about all those things. What if the missionaries were like, yeah, we do have a daughter that's challenged. And what if the people that are over this great movement of the Assemblies of God said, guess what? Just because you're in this situation means you can't do this. Do you think that they're like, no, I mean, there's probably voices around them said, are you kidding me? Why would you do that? Why would you? Here's the voice that I hear sometimes from well-meaning people. Why would you send your 19-year-old son to live in Europe? Why would you put him on a plane and send him to live to Europe so far away? Even people close to me have said that to me, and I'm like, something, the safest place he can be is in God's hands. The safest place we can be is the reality of knowing that Christ is the one that's molding and shaping these things. What are you saying, Pastor? Here's what I'm saying. Sometimes you need to silence the voice of demotivators in your life. That Debbie Downer that has everything negative to say about everything under the planet, you just need to tell them to stop doing this, okay, and start doing this. Hello? You can do that to them. Say, hey, that thing that you're doing right now, there's people that you work with, and all they are is right, and all they are is anybody with me? Shake your head if you understand what I'm saying. You can't walk up to them and say, hey, you need to stop doing this. You just need to put your fingers in your ear and go, Jesus! Just start praying in the Spirit. Watch them go, oh my goodness, I am walking the other way. Hello? Some of you are like, Pastor, you've lost your ever-loving mind. No, I'm telling you, raise the motivational level in your life. Listen to what God's saying. You're like, what is God saying? Here's what God's saying. Take out your phone, turn on that YouVersion app, turn on John 3:16, and let that guy read the word to you. Hello? God so loved the world that he gave. Let the word be read to you in an audible way, and let God speak to you in a great way so you can start hearing his voice over everybody else's voice. How many know that we need to hear the voice of God in a clear way? So what did Jesus say? We go back to the situation that we just read where Jesus is like, hey, guess what? All of y'all are going to betray me and you're going to leave me tonight. That's not good. And one of you is going to be a traitor, is going to turn me over to everybody else. And guess what? I'm leaving, and where I'm going, you're not going to be able to go there right now. And Jesus, his voice is what changes everything. He says, don't let your hearts be troubled. Don't let your heart be troubled. And then he ties it to heaven. He says, if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you may be where I am. What is he doing? The voice of Christ is encouraging them in a very disturbed and a very upset situation. For some of us in this world, And some of us in church sometimes. Sometimes I see it played out in social media. When people get upset, when people get disturbed, the most comforting voices sometimes are the people that make comments about the rants that you make on Facebook about life. Look at it this way. I've seen teenage kids before where their parents don't watch them on social media, just rant about their parents like crazy on social media, just go nuts. And then all these comforters come around, oh, you poor soul and everything. And I'm like on there going, you know, I would love to enter into that conversation right now in this place, but this is not the place, you know. And I'm like, sometimes you do it. You get sucked in, you know what I'm saying? But I'm telling you, sometimes people let the issues of our life to dictate the voices that get to speak into our life, rather than the Savior in our life to set the tone for our life. He's trying to set a tone for the disciples. Yeah, I'm going to die, and you're not going to understand, but I'm going for you. I'm preparing a place for you. I've got something set up for you. In my Father's house are many rooms. The King James Version, it says, many mansions. And I got to go because I'm preparing something just for you. Jesus said in John 14, he looks down and he said, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. See, if we listen to Jesus, we will see no matter what situation that we're in, he is the way. He will bring the truth. And I can live in this thing because my life is not according to what is happening around me. My life is set up by what's happening inside of me, and his salvation and his grace and his mercy and his love is going to cover me all the days of my life. How many believe that today? So I want to encourage you, when you start listening to the voice of God, when you start listening to what he's saying to you, God will put a dream in your heart. And when he puts a dream in your heart, for some of you, my prayer is, you know, we talk about serving on a team at our church, and the reason why we do, there's a lot of reasons why we do. The greatest reason we do is because it actually gets our eyes off ourselves and gets our eyes on our Savior. Because during the toughest times in our lives, there's certain people that are like, man, Pastor, in the toughest times, the things I've walked through, the greatest thing that I've been able to do is realize in serving, I find my Savior. But in sitting, sometimes I find my sorrow. In serving, I find my Savior. But in sitting, sometimes I find the sorrow of life that I focus on. It's all in shifting our focus off of what's happening in us and saying, how can I do something in you? See, when God puts a dream in your heart, my dream is that every person in our church would join a team. Because when we join a team, we join a community. When you join a community, we're like, I'm a part of this thing. I'm in it. I may stand at the door and hand out paper. I may serve once a month in the nursery and take care of babies, and God may call me to the mission field. Hello, isn't that an awesome thing? I mean, whoa, I've never heard that one before. Hello, go serve in the nursery. You're going to Thailand. There you go. I mean, God, you never know. Hello? God's got a plan. But when you start dreaming, there'll be people around you and their voices around you. If you listen to them, you might miss what God's saying to you. We respond a lot of times according to the motivation that's inside of us. There's a lady in the 50s, and I have a hard time saying her name. Her name is Agnes Ganja Bakshu. This lady was a teenager, and she felt a call to ministry. And when she was a teenager, she felt a call to ministry. She did her ministerial training in a couple of countries. She went to Ireland. She went to India. And one day she approached the people that were her superiors. She said, I have a dream. They're like, what's your dream? She goes, I have a dream. I want to start an orphanage, but I only have 3 pennies. You know what those people said to her? Those people said, you can't build an orphanage with 3 pennies. You can't do anything with 3 pennies. And this little lady, she said, she smiles and she says this, she said, I know, but with God, and 3 pennies, I can do anything. Come on, that's motivated. It wasn't the 3 pennies, it was God. It was Jesus living inside of him that motivated who? Mother Teresa, who had 3 pennies and a call of God and said, I want to do something to change the world. Sometimes we got to realize that God is greater than our lack. God is greater than our sorrow. God is greater than the situations that we're walking through. And we can be motivated by the fact that Jesus lives in me. And if he lives in me, then he is enough to get me up in the morning, to put joy in my life, to put peace in my heart, to put a spring in my step, because like Paul said, none of these things are gonna move me. But the one thing that does is Jesus inside of me, because I can have joy and I can have peace and I can have everything that I need. Why? Because he's alive. And I know he's alive because he lives in me. May that be your motivating factor this week. May the one thing that wakes you up in the morning is Jesus. May your eyes be opened up to see Jesus in a greater way. And may your ears hear his voice as you read his word and as you spend time in his presence. May his words encourage you to realize that you can win, you can overcome, you can be used. And at the age of 40, you can listen to a dream and say, I want to be a missionary. Or at the age of 30, you can say, God, I want to see you do something greater in life. I'm going to put myself in a place where I can serve and I can lead and I can be what you've called me to be. It comes down to understanding that what's motivating us. This world out here doesn't want to motivate us. God wants to motivate us to do certain things. But Jesus came to motivate us, because in John 10 he said, I have come that you may have life. That word life, same one, Zoe. Real life, abundant life, blessed life, in the here and in the after. That you may have life, and not just a little bit of life. He says life more abundantly. That word abundance there in the Greek means super abundant in quality and quantity. Well, I want a super abundant quality and quantity life. I mean, that's what I signed up for when I gave my life to Jesus. I didn't sign up for a little bit of Jesus. I signed up for everything he has for my life. How many signed up for that? Come on now. Put your hands together if you signed up for that. Come on, close your eyes. Let's stand to our feet right here, and let's just wrap our hearts and our minds around this motivating factor that Jesus died for me. Would you just maybe slip up your hands? We're going to sing maybe a song right here, and I want to encourage you. Would you just fall in love with Jesus again? You know, his greatest motivation for you was love. And may you be motivated as you leave in a few moments by love for him. Jesus, we love you. We honor you. Can you just love on him tonight? Can you just maybe take a moment before you go home tonight and tell him, Jesus, I love you, I bless you, I honor you. Lord, there's nobody like you, Jesus. Lord, there's nobody in this world like you. Come on, lift up your voice and just worship him tonight. We honor you tonight, Jesus. Here I am.